This one's going to be another video, I guess, kind of breaking down what I've covered in the last 14 months, what we've actually put out publicly. So, if you're looking for calls, that's kind of not what we do. I think the idea for us was really to teach, a man how to fish. Okay. So the general idea was if you can't do this for yourself, you're never really going to make anything of yourself when it comes to trading. And therefore, what we've tried to emphasize in the last 14 months is how the institutional players, how the brokers and the exchanges play games, and ultimately how you can use technical analysis to break down the logic that will give you a bit of an edge. Okay. So ultimately, everything we've done in the last 2 weeks in terms of exposing Moon Carl, it's not really been an attack at Carl per se. It's kind of attack at the industry in terms of what actually goes on out there, right? And the general idea is that, when you see influencers with 1 million followers, but technical analysis that isn't worth anything, these guys are calling, millions of dollars worth of longs on a demo account at 68K. Okay. Now, the reason that this is useful for them is they'll actually take a commission on the spreads off the brokers that they've actually shilled to the public. Okay, so this is why they keep doing what they do, right? So it's a very clever scam, but it is a scam. So if you're looking at the technical analysis side, and that's really what we focus on predominantly, it's more about how to protect yourself in terms of looking for higher probability trades. And we've mentioned this, right at the start when we first set up the Discord server. You need to be looking at things like regulation, where possible, right? Now, a lot of people try looking for the cheapest option, and that's where people get burnt. Ultimately, guys, I've done this for 20 years. Paul's done this for 30 years. Between the two of us, we've got, over 50 years worth of experience. And that's saying a lot when it comes to trading. Okay. So we don't need to be flashy. We don't need to advertise. We're actually making our money from trading. And all we're trying to do with the educational content is teach you guys how we do what we do. Okay. So I'm just going to flick through to start with before coming into the current situation. I'm going to go back as far as August and explain, why I was actually calling these moves, why we were in the 3 to 4 on a smaller time frame, how likely we were to go monthly 3 and see just above a 65K level, okay, before dropping underneath 40K again, right? And this goes back to August, okay? I'm just going to flick through. Now, this is one of the channels in the paid for Discord. Now, what we've actually broken down here is, there's various pairs and so on. So I'm just going to flick through some of what you can see and show why we were talking about some of the things that we were actually talking about, okay? So some of the clusters and the Fibonacci levels, Fibonacci clusters, this is one of the methods that we've shown and how they work, why they work, okay? So towards the end of September, we got this one here, right? Let's see if I can zoom in on this one. So we got this one here. And I posted this a couple of days before in another group. This level up the top was what I was looking for in terms of the extension being almost the ultimate high, okay? Now, bear in mind, everybody else was looking for bullish, bullish, bullish calls. And I'm giving the logic as to why we would get there and then fail, okay? So it's not me being a perma bear. This is me just breaking down the logic as to what we were seeing and why, where we were going and for what reason, and how the subscribers could start to understand this for themselves, okay? So let me flick on. So I'm going to try to find now this one in particular. So some of the logic is on the 15th of August, right? Why I was looking at the move back down, back up, and finishing just shy of the 70K levels, okay? And this was all written, all done, all put into this back then. We broke down the logic as to what we were seeing with the potential distribution patterns, right, and how that would work. And this was on a smaller time frame, this particular one. So fast forward a little bit further, let me see if I can find the next distribution pattern. It was up here. Okay. So to start with, I'm going to show you this. So that level I just mentioned just now, back the end of September, you can see we've come up and tagged it practically to the pip. Okay, within a couple of dollars, and we've rejected quite violently from this level. So we can clearly see that Bitcoin's becoming more and more institutionalized. Okay, now again, where we were 22nd of October, I was looking at the potential move. I think this was the UT or the UTAD that I was calling on this particular one, and why we would then drop back down, basically back towards this blue level down here. Okay, so as you can see, around 30k. And this was actually in there, already put in, back in October, in readiness for the drop. And this was out to our subscribers. Okay, so although I haven't covered much of this in the YouTube streams, I was actually given the logic as why we were weekly 3, 4, weekly 5, right? So you can see there's a lot of this in there. Now, this isn't just giving the call. This is explaining, breaking down how you can utilize this yourself. Okay. So let's go further forward again. So like I said, I've covered everything. I know there's a couple of other pairs. Aussie dollar is something that I'm personally trading at the moment. This is something that I've had my eye on for an awful long time. So let's go forward a bit further. Now, this was something else, right? This was just me thinking out loud. This takes us now. What was the date on this one? This takes us up to November the 10th. What I was actually looking for on this, and this is from the previous moves, why we could actually see a move down kind of inbound. Okay. So this was what I called the wick fill hats. And we could see the move coming down to this kind of level, which would have been just above that blue circle that I put out in the distribution. Okay. So let's go forward again. Let's kind of come into these levels. Dropping down. Right. Now, as we started to make our way down into this level, we didn't actually get the UTAD that I was expecting above 70k. Right. Now, again, there was some logic for why I was hoping we'd get above 70k, and we didn't. So now starting to forecast where we were likely to head based on this distribution pattern. Okay. So where was the point and figure? So I basically put together then a couple of different scenarios for a couple of different options. Some people come to me and ask, why I was thinking this all-time high was the 5 of the weekly and not this one. There were some Fibonacci levels there that actually made a better fit to the overall play. And there was also the move 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. However, when you come from this low being the 4, you also had a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a truncated 5. Now, this definitely proved out to be the case. We actually had the initial point and figure target zone down in and around between the 37.5 and 31.5, right? So when I use point and figure, this is quite a broad range, just giving, old school example as to why we were doing what we should be doing, right? Come back to the circles. We dropped down. We had our target. We moved back up. And funny enough, I guess because we were still in this monthly move, there were a couple of other things that were actually kind of revealing themselves, right? Now, there's an argument for this being accumulation. And in some regard, it is accumulation, right? But it's a large, large scale accumulation, right? So I've gone into an awful lot of depth, I suppose, even in this video, giving away some of these secrets. But these are the kinds of things that we break down and show why these levels will be utilized, how they will be utilized, and then how we can put the building blocks together to build up the story to define the logic. Okay, so I'm going to now fast forward closer to the time. Let's see if I can find some of these levels. Okay, so on this particular point, remember the point and figure chart that I've just shown. I've removed the point and figure and put the bars back. I was looking at the extension levels for the first swings. Again, define the logic, right? So, from a couple of weeks before this, broken it down as to why, what we were seeing, where the key areas were within these levels, and how these levels will now be defined. Okay. So, step by step, breaking this down, like I said, for the subscribers, we've gone into every little bit of detail, broken down the detail, and now what we're trying to look at is where we are in the bigger picture. Okay. So you have to realize that we are still in the 4 move. For me personally, I'm seeing the 4 move still within the A of that 4 move. So, the 0 to A down. And these, again, showing some of the levels, was the 28th of August, and the channel was on the 29th of August as to why we would break out of that being the 5 down. Okay. So at this particular point, I feel that we're definitely in the start of the move down rather than the end. Okay. You can see again how these levels, we play forward a couple of weeks, how these levels start to play themselves out. Let's fast forward again. Okay, let me jump back up a little bit more. Okay, let's use this one next. Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to get at, guys, is for you guys looking for just the signals, we really avoid giving trade signals. Okay, what we talk about is why these moves are likely to play themselves out. Okay, so you can see this in terms of XRP. When this is something, it's all following the Bitcoin path overall. But you can see from the way that these things play out, they've done what we say we're doing. And the reason that we're kind of happy and comfortable with this is, this 50 years of experience breaking this down for you guys. So what we're now looking at is the kind of moves that we're seeing, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's XRP, or whether it's Bitcoin. These are the 3 that I feel are truly institutionalized. Okay. When you understand what it is you're looking for on these moves, it's easy to break down what we're likely to see next. Okay. So this is a short-term channel. And again, we've gone into slightly less detail, but we've used the indicators that the subscribers got access to. And we've broken down, again, the logic on the technical analysis in conjunction with the indicator, understanding what kind of levels we're looking at and why we're likely to do what we do next. Okay, so I just wanted to share this because it's important for us in terms of the education. It's important to share our reasons behind what we do. And the main reason, as I said right at the start of the video, that we teach the way we teach is so that you guys can do this without us, right? In an ideal world, we want you guys doing the TA and us going yes or no, okay? And that's the level that we want those students to get to, as quick as they physically can. So if I now take a little look at this, now I'm going to keep, I suppose, some of the trade secrets for the students and for the current subscribers. And this is what, again, if you don't understand some of what we show, it's just part of the education, and that's really the point. We can't emphasize that enough. So if you look, first move for me was this one, right? And again, there's logic as to why this one and not one of these up here that I've chosen. You then have a pullback. So for me, the first leg down, A, B, okay, and C. right? Now, for many people, that was the A on the big picture is already in, right? For me, no, that's not it. You then have a move up, which was the D, and the E could easily give us either a liquidity grab or just a double bottom, right? Now, for me, this already qualifies enough in Bitcoin terms, enough for a double bottom to be justified, okay? Now, at this particular point, if we don't get a lower low, right, I'm still going to treat this as my potential A now being in at this point rather than here. Ideally, we take this low out, grab some liquidity, and that becomes the bigger term A, okay? Now, at this particular stage, I'll be obviously putting out more videos. Paul does this kind of daily, but we're going to really put the emphasis now in terms of the Discord and the channel so that the subscribers get to see this in front of everybody else. And then we'll kind of put the data out, a couple of days later in terms of everybody else seeing what we've called. And then we'll break down some of the logic as to why we've done what we've done. Okay. So for us right now, where we're going to finish with is we are currently in this move down A. We'll ultimately see a move back up B and down for the C. Now I've covered already some of the ABC move in my previous streams, but given that this is a monthly time frame, guys, you really have to take into consideration this particular view. Okay, this view here. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm keen on. Anything else sub this view, it's just not relevant in terms of where we are right now. So I know this one has been a little bit long-winded. I know I've kind of talked more about what we've done rather than what we're doing, but you really need to understand and appreciate that what we've done to get us into this position to what we do next. And that's really what's important for the takeaway in this video. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Sorry to rant on a little bit, but yeah, I'm hoping that we'll have a few other updates in the next week or so. Keep you posted.